A few days ago, I started making a video about white patriarchy in this country, specifically pertaining to what's happening to the Latinx community in this country. I deleted the video because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. So in the video, I talked about xenophobia and how there was a time in this country where Asian Americans were treated equally as bad, maybe worse, as the Latinx community is currently being treated in this country. In 2025, we are at a point in this country where it is almost equally as illegal to be Latinx as it is to be Black. People of Latinx descent, even if they are American citizens, are being targeted in this country by ICE, by the police. Black people know this. We're familiar with this struggle all too well. Talked about xenophobia a great deal. I even had some screenshots of xenophobia across the history of this country and how Asian Americans were. There was a time, especially during the Vietnam War, where it was nearly illegal to be Asian American. And their businesses were targeted, and they were targeted for hate crimes, and just everything that's happening right now with Latinx Americans. Kind of imagine that, but worse. Reason why I focus so greatly on xenophobia is because, again, throughout the history of this country, Asian Americans have been the target of white patriarchy hate several times. And in response to that, several times Asian Americans have sided with white patriarchy, like how we watched them side with white patriarchy and dismantling affirmative action, especially in colleges. And then recently we have that big lawsuit with that Asian American young man and his family who is suing, I believe, Harvard because they believe that as an Asian American, he was denied entry into that university based on his nationality, based on his being of Asian descent. But Asian Americans helped dismantle affirmative action in those universities. Leading up to the election last year, we watched several different Latinx groups campaign and show their support for Donald Trump. And now he is mass deporting and allowing ICE and other law enforcement agencies to deport them, even deporting and targeting American citizens who are of Latinx descent. And as the only group of people on this land who did not come here voluntarily, Black people warned you all that this would happen, and you did not listen to us.
Hey, what's up, fam? How you doing? Hope you're doing great from wherever you're watching us from. As you know, this is your presenter, Jindoc Stories, and I'll be bringing you contemporary things that are happening in the United States, and that's what I've been doing for the longest time. Now, we can't mention people who have caused problem to Black Americans without mentioning Latinos, without mentioning Asian Americans, without mentioning Chinese Americans, without mentioning Japanese Americans. I mean, these are a group of people, and I'm not saying all of them, but these are a group of people that I've enjoyed the privilege of having to have Black folks who talk and help them. But at the end of the day, they go ahead and betray them and disappoint them for some reasons. One is thinking that they're great because Black folks are Black folks and Black is not something which is, commendable in the social strata, right? I like to say this. There's so much racial dynamic when we talk about the United States. There's so much intermarriages that are happening. And so within all this, it is intertwined. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about, or we are going to see what people are talking about, which includes talking about the problems that Asians, Latinos have caused to Black people, wherein they still go ahead and benefit from the voices of Black people. But it just that ends at that. This is why it gets interesting. Right now, the Latino Asian community, they're seeing the true picture of white America. And now they're getting to understand what Black folks have always tried to tell them. And this is what happens, right? With that being said, majority of people are getting to learn that there is so much suffering that they've gone through. And now it's like all along, they've been dining with the enemy and forgetting about black people who are there in their support. I just watched this video. There is so much that could have been said when you talk about affirmative action, when you talk about education, when you talk about all these things that protect other communities that come into the United States. But at the end of the day, after getting all this, they found it inconvenient to, I mean, to socialize with black people. Majority of them will tell you that their parents told them not to integrate, not to socialize with black people. But at the end of the day, today, with what's happening in the United States, people are coming to learn something about black people. Black people are truthful people. I just watched this video. I'll be back and then we'll share our thoughts. These are presented Gender Stories. For those watching us for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get sure we can offer you. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back with my commentary as usual.
Let's talk about Black and Latino relationships. Heavy, right? I'm Colombian American. I was born in South America. I was raised in a working class town in New Jersey. Growing up, all of my friends were Black. I actually didn't really have that many Latino friends when I was a kid. Most of my friends were Black. And really, I think that shaped my perspective differently than a lot of Latinos in the US. And I want to make something very clear, and I want to talk about something that I think a lot of Latinos like to ignore. First off, a lot of us have Black roots. In Colombia, in South America, about 20% of the population is Black, Afro-Colombian. My father's family has Black family. I have some Black heritage. Clearly, I would never go around saying I'm like African American, but I just want to say many of us share Black ancestry, and we grew up in households that bear the stain of colonialism. Essentially, we were forced upon us these views by the Spanish, by the Portuguese, even by the US, because the US government kind of went into a lot of our homelands and kind of pushed their own agenda. And we were pushed to understand or to think or to believe that the darker we were, the more inferior we are. You see this a lot in South Asian communities. Indian communities, I see do this a lot. And I'll be very honest with you, I don't want to kind of start a controversy here, but I do often see a little bit of racism from South Asian communities directed at people like us, Latinos, and definitely at African Americans. East Asian communities, this is a problem there too. Maybe we'll talk about this in the future. Like I said, this channel is for uncomfortable conversations, and I want you guys to have them in the comments. I want you to discuss this stuff. So let's talk a little bit about Black Americans and Latinos, right? So this is the part that infuriates me the most. Black Americans have historically pushed a lot of the civil rights and liberties that we have in this country, in the United States. The civil rights movement was led predominantly by Black people. Many of the rights and the privileges that we have. If you're a Russian American and you're going around talking about how much you love Putin or whatever, you won that right. Well, you didn't win it, but you have that right because people decades ago fought for the right for you to express yourself, for you to be free and have freedom of speech. And I think this is something that a lot of Latinos don't understand. I think this is also a divide between Latinos who haven't really been in the US that long and Latinos like myself who were either born or raised in the US since children. I have noticed a culture amongst some Colombian Americans that I interact with who have only been living in the US like 5-10 years, and all of a sudden they become political experts on the US. They're like in their 30s or their 20s. They didn't grow up here. They weren't teenagers here. They may not have even gone to school here. And yes, I want to shout out Aaliyah, my first crush as a child. And so sometimes you have discussions with them and you'll ask them like, oh, you think this is okay? Like what the government is doing, limiting the free speech of students, etc. And they'll be like, yeah, every country has the right to like determine who they let into their country and what they can do. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a threat to the country, you should not be let in. But freedom of speech, that's like a foundational bedrock of our liberal democracy, which is what we have always been for at least for the past decades after World War II. And I feel like a lot of these recent immigrants don't know that. I think they come from their countries with kind of backwards views on liberties, on what you can say, what you should say. Some of them think that because in their home countries, the government can kind of come and tell you what to say, then that's okay to do that here in the US. And I want to be very clear about something. America has never been okay with telling people what to do and what to say. You can take this back a couple of decades. You can take it back to Ulysses, a novel published by James Joyce, which was very controversial and made its way through the courts. And guess what's one of the most important novels of the 20th century, which would be Ulysses by James Joyce. You also take this back to novels like Tropic of Cancer, which was heavily censored and banned in many places in the U.S. And eventually it became part of kind of our cultural experience. Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer. One of my favorite books, by the way. I heavily recommend it. But we have historically moved towards supporting civil rights, supporting speaking for yourself, and Black Americans have been a huge part of this. I'm willing to say that if it weren't for Black Americans, America would be a little bit more totalitarian than it was a couple of months ago. And interestingly enough, when you talk about this and you tell people, well, America hasn't always been a free country, right? In the civil rights movement, dogs were sick on Black protesters. People were murdered under kind of state-sanctioned, dangerous views. And a lot of this happened because Black Americans were fighting for their rights, and they were treated horrendously by not just the U.S. government, but local governments, people in the communities that just were so ignorant and stupid that they didn't understand that, we're all human beings. And a lot of Latinos have benefited from this. Even Latinos that arrived here 5-10 years ago. But the problem is they don't know they've benefited from this. They don't know that the reason they can play salsa out in the street without having someone call the police on them, or successfully call the police on them to get it to shut it down, is because Black Americans made it possible so that integration, civil rights, acceptance of different races was something that we championed as a society, up until recently, of course. And I think a lot of my Latino brethren need to kind of get it together and start studying what this country was founded on. You can't arrive in a country, you can't come here as a new immigrant and bring with you oppressive totalitarian beliefs and think that now you can enforce them because there's a candidate that you like that does that. Like, you need to read up on John F. Kennedy. You need to read on FDR. You need to read on James Baldwin. You need to read about Malcolm X. You need to read about so many, W.E. Du Bois. You need to read about the people who fought for our rights and how hard it was for us to maintain those rights. And if you really want to be an American, if you want to come to this country and you want to say, I'm an American and I'm proud, whether you're Cuban Republican or Colombian Republican or whatever, well, you need to learn the history of this country, right? Because you came here, you chose to come to this country to live a new life, to fight for a better life for your family. So how dare you try to take that away from other people? And how dare you insult and treat Black Americans as if they were inferior to you? They're not. No one is. Everyone is deemed equal under the eyes of God. And you seem to have come here and you brought with you these beliefs, and all they do is just cause and sow hatred and seeds of evil in this society. It's a big beef that I have. I just want to say that if Black and Latino people come together, if we understand that we are in the same game, fighting the same struggle, looking for the same opportunities for our families and our children and our parents, we are a powerful force to be reckoned with. But until we realize how powerful we can be when we work together, we will remain, in many ways, unfortunately, divided. And that power will be divided. And guess who benefits from that? It ain't you, brother. It ain't me. It ain't you out there working in a factory or in construction thinking that Donald Trump is going to save you from whatever the hell you thought you needed saving from. It's Jeff Bezos. It's Musk. It's this creepy little dweeb Zuckerberg that wants to be a man, that thinks that because he has a little gold chain and grew out his little hair and has a little t-shirt that somehow he's a manly man. Yeah, okay, you can take as many Thai bowl classes as you want, Mark Zuckerberg. You're not a man. You're part of an oppressive system that hurts people and causes damages to Western democracies and developing nations who are influenced by these ignorant beliefs found amongst these totalitarian states. That's it for me now. I'm trying to upload more people. I promise I'll talk about sports. I will. I have about 300 followers. I got another page that has about 200,000 followers, but that's a business page dedicated to something completely outside of the realm of politics, culture, sports, and society. I hope you stick around. Please follow my podcast. And you can also go to realdiegoarias.com. I repeat it, realdiegoarias.com. And you can read some of my essays, some of my fiction, some of my nonfiction, and some of my rambles. And I'm willing to hear you out. Any conservatives out there, any Latinos out there that think I'm wrong, please leave your comments. I believe in free speech. Free speech means that I should and read things that I don't agree with. It's all about having an open conversation. That's the whole point to a modern society. Have a lovely day, everybody. I love you. Take care. Bye.
I do think it's important to hear both sides, and I usually am very reasonable with people. But with certain issues, like, I believe that you have to be very firm in what you say. And like with this whole solidarity that I'm showing, like, I'm not going to compromise, because the guy in office isn't compromising. Like, this guy is being very assertive over things that are very harmful. Like, what he's saying is very harmful to Hispanic and Latino communities. And I just can't get on board with what he says. Like, I have not once heard something that he said and been like, oh yeah, that's profound. Like, no, it's fear mongering. It's hateful rhetoric. And I talked about Professor Leo Chavez having some lectures on YouTube about this. It's anti-immigration rhetoric and policies is disproportionately harmful to Hispanic and Latino communities. I'm well aware some of my videos are super corny. Like the previous video I posted, I had a spell issue. Instead of saying in, I said is. But it's like the content I'm shooting, it's like, okay, what can I say to be supportive, to show people that I care? So I'll post these videos to try to capture attention. But it's 100% sincere. I do want y'all to know that. Like, it's not a front. When people feel downtrodden and oppressed, that really does anger me, especially when it's a minority group, because sometimes they might even feel like they can't speak out. They might feel like if they speak out, they might face retaliation. And like an example of how I support the community is like one time it was just like taking a trip. I was taking a trip and I stopped on the road and there was a man, he was a street vendor and he was selling roses. And I can't remember how much he was selling them for, but like I pretty much gave him all the money in my wallet for a rose. But like, that's how I love the community, man. I love people. I was supporting the Palestinian people. You know, I jump on lives and just do what I can to help them out. You know, I think it's really important that we look out for people. And I'm a black man, so obviously, like, I support black people. Like, if you see me in public and you're black, like, why would you think that I have something against you? Like, I'm a brother with dreadlocks. I'm a big black brother, bro. It's like, I'm obviously black. I'm not someone who denies my blackness. I don't be in public like, hey, y'all go stand over. Like, bro, like, I'm black. And I associate with black people. I love black people. But like, as a black man, how would you know, if you're a Hispanic or Latino person, how would you know that like I support you and that I'm looking out for you? If like you saw me in public and like you just scroll through my social media page, bro, like you wouldn't know unless I said, hey, I support you. So that's one of the reasons I do this. And it does seem super corny. Like, I get it. Some of the videos are corny, but it's for a purpose. Like, it really is making a difference, because I look through the comments and people really do feel loved and supported by it.
Public reminder to all the delusional motherfuckers out there: just because you are a different race other than black or have a lighter skin tone does not mean you are not next on the chopping block. They just haven't gotten to you yet. You are still on the list of oppression. Your oppression has just been delayed a little bit. There's this one restaurant that I go to all the time. It's very cool. This is one particular lady around my age, and she is the one that usually hosts me. She was asking me for my order, and the news channel was on talking about how Donald Trump is restricting massive deportation of immigrants. I made a comment saying, wow, they're really accelerating the process on this one, huh? She made a comment saying, it's okay, I'll be all right. And I'm like, why would you say that? Don't get me wrong, I had no assumptions towards her. She made an odd comment and I questioned it. I was like, oh, I'm pretty pale. So you think you can white pass your way out of this? I didn't tell her that. But I just simply nodded and said, okay, good for you. One of the most important lessons I learned about life is that shit happens to you when you least expect it or when you are too comfortable. A week later, I come back to the same restaurant. She wasn't there. I assumed she was off. Came back the next week because I was just really craving quesadillas for some reason. I went to the restaurant. She also wasn't there. So I was like, that's strange because I usually see her on Thursdays. Owner came out of the back, he just finished cooking, and he saw me, and I was like, oh, welcome back. And I was like, oh, thank you. Then I asked him, I was like, out of curiosity, where did that other girl go? He said, oh, yeah, about that. She got deported. Got it. Okay, all right. It turns out her skin color did not save her. Didn't think it was going to, but hey.
You ever notice how they keep telling Black people to be independent and pull yourself up? Funny, because every time we did, they tore us down. And co-ops, that was one of the biggest threats we ever built. Co-ops were never about being trendy or just making a little money on the side. They were about survival, period. When the banks laughed at us, when the stores locked their doors, when the jobs hired everybody but us. We didn't sit around begging. We pulled our money together, we fed each other. We loaned to each other. We educated our kids ourselves, because depending on them was never a real option. And deep down, they knew if we didn't need them, they couldn't control us. That's why every time a Black co-op started getting real traction, the city showed up with new rules. The banks suddenly changed their policies. Developers sniffed around with revitalization plans. Translation? They didn't mind you surviving. They minded you surviving without them. Black co-ops weren't cute little neighborhood projects. They were saying out loud, we can take care of our own without permission. And that is the kind of thing that America's never forgiven us for. Every time they slammed a door in our faces, we built a whole neighborhood behind it. And today, when people talk about building community, it's not some new trend that we need to catch up on. We invented it while surviving a system that was designed to starve us out. So don't let them tell you this is the way it's always been. It's the way they made it. It's the way we can unmake it together. Because the real revolution isn't voting or marching. It's feeding each other, funding each other, building futures they can't burn down.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are great. Now, first things first, I'm liking the fact that Latinos, Asian communities are getting to learn what they mean to white folks. Because for the longest time, they have grown knowing that they should be appealing so much towards white people as compared to Black people. And I'm not saying that all white people are bad people. No, not really. I'm not saying that, right? But I'm just trying to express this. It is good that the Asian community is learning about all these things that is happening. What transpired in the United States recently is revealing a lot of things about the white America. And Asian community wasn't left out. The Latino community wasn't left out. And even some African immigrants still wasn't left out. It's in the process of learning. And as time unravels, people get to understand the things that they were being told about Black folks that are lies. People are going through a lot of things. The ICE raids that happen, the massive deportations that are going on. When you try to reminisce all these things, these people get to understand that what Black folks were telling them before was that, you know, if you make this decision, the following are things that you're gonna have to live with. And dang, it happened to them. That's what happened, right? And so that being said, it means that they're getting to understand that all along, the people who are true sayers were Black people. But they didn't give them here. But why could they give them if there were just a couple of Black folks who are not even worthy of them taking time and listening to them? That's how they thought, right? But today, when you get to look at how things are unraveling, a lot of Latinos, to begin with, are getting to realize that they share a lot of resemblance with Black Americans or African Americans or Africans. Some even get to understand they can trace their roots back in Africa, and there's so much similarities that they share. And so they're regretting, and it pains them that All this long, they have been dining with the enemy, and instead of supporting the people that they should be supporting, they're not doing that. And you know the implications that has caused black people across the United States. So, I mean, that's one thing that has been happening for the longest time. So that being said, it means that true time will expose everything. And indeed, it's exposing it. Majority of people are getting to understand why black people are so important. That's why it explains why white folks doesn't want segregation. They don't want to get away from the black community. Same things, Latinos, Asians are getting also to learn the same damn thing that is going on. So that being said, it means that these are a couple of things that are happening. And they're happening in their face. And it is happening in the real time. This is not that time that you're opening history book, you're told that white person or white people saved one. Who? People are getting to see things in the real time. And they're getting to know that black people are the true saviors because they warned them. And they told them that, listen to me, brother, you're making this decision and it's going to be affecting you. But a lot of them are just getting to learn how racism is so much expensive. Racism is so much expensive to the extent that it's costing their kids to be sent back home, to be deported. The ICE raids, the massive deportations, even white folks themselves, they are not getting to understand that they know much greater than any other people because at the end of the day, they also want the black support. So this is something that has been out there in the public domain. And I'm glad and I'm happy that people are getting to learn and understand the plight of black people, even in the 21st century. Because as a continental African, for example, I've learned a lot and I've seen for myself the lies that were told about black people. And these are the things that black folks have lived with. So, that just being said, it means that people are getting to understand the truth. And it pains me that we still have a group of Asian Latinos who still think that when you have a child with a black person, they feel like it's an outcast doing that, but they don't see the benefits. They don't see the fights. They don't see the resilience that it is within black people, because it is only black people that have managed to live inside the United States with all those atrocities going on. They have been going on for the longest time, and that's which has always been happening. That being said, so I don't understand. I really don't understand why this all is happening. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that people are getting to learn the truth, and everything is getting out to the light. All the lies that were told about black people, they are getting to understand. A lot of Asians, a lot of Latinos are getting to do the research and understanding. We have been dining with the wrong people all along. So that being said, a couple of things that has happened and the implication that they have towards black people. I don't want to say much, but I just hope things are well on your side. Tell me honestly what you think about all these things that are happening. I want to know your opinion in regards to this, because in as much as we might try to skip this conversation, but I believe it's important. I believe it's imperative for me and you to address these issues that are happening around us. And so I couldn't find the best way to put it, but I believe that people are getting to learn the truth. People are getting to understand the plight of black people, the importance of black people, and how they manage to do all these things. So this represents Eugene Duke Stories, and I'm hoping that you're fine. I'm hoping that you're okay. I don't know where you're watching it from, but I believe you're fine. Thank you for watching, and welcome next time.